Hi guys, here I am again with my 3x3x9 and today I'm going to show you how I solve it. As I mentioned in my last video, my method is a good beginner's method because it only requires one algorithm and I'm going to show you that now. The algorithm is right 2, up, right 2, up inverted. And you do that 7 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you follow up with an R2. As you can see, we haven't changed the orientation of any pieces. What we have done is we've swapped this corner with this corner, these, I guess, edges with these, and these corners with these corners. And we've also flipped this line over, as you can see. And using this algorithm, it becomes very easy to solve the cube. By repeating the algorithm again, you can see we undo all the moves we did. To solve this, obviously you need to scramble it first, and that's what I'm going to do now. That looks quite good. Now just to do the fully functional moves. And there we go. We're ready to solve it. The first step in solving this cube is to return it to a cuboid, because as you can see, when it's like this, you can't turn these small layers, they're bandaged. So you begin by solving it like you would any other 3x3 while paying attention to the orientation of these centres. So for example, this one here is fine, this one here is fine, this one here is fine, but this one here would need to be rotated. So to do that, I like to rotate the edge piece up to the top layer, move it to the side, rotate the front face, and then bring the edge back into it and bring it down to the bottom. Remember while doing this, this sticker here is the only sticker that is stuck to the centre, and this one here is the only one that's always on this edge. The next step when solving like a 3x3 is to put in the corners. Like so. And next is to put in these edges. As you can see, we have now solved the middle layer. The last step is to orient the top layer. The permutation of the top layer doesn't matter at this point. Next, we solve the layer above the centre and the layer below the centre. The way I'd like to do this is to first of all look at the corners in one of the layers. Looking at this layer, I can see this corner doesn't belong here because, as you can see, the stickers are the wrong way round. This corner doesn't belong here because, again, the stickers are the wrong way round. This corner does belong here, and this corner also belongs here. We know these two corners belong here, and these two don't. The next step is to determine which two in this layer belong in this one. This one here, as you can see, does not belong in this layer, so it's one of the ones that must be swapped. This one does belong in that layer, as does this one, and this one here does not. Therefore, the next step is to swap these two with these two. This is very easily done by aligning them like this and doing an R2. As you can see, this piece now belongs in this layer because these stickers match. This piece belongs in this layer because these stickers match. This piece belongs in this layer because these stickers match. And finally, this piece belongs in this layer because these stickers match. The next step is to look at these center pieces. And we see we've got a green one, a blue one, an orange one, and a pink one. So they are all correct. Now that we have all the correct pieces in the correct layer, the next step is to permutate them. I like to start with the edges, and you can easily line up two like that. That's a pink one and the green one lined up. Now we have to swap this one with this one, and to do that we use the algorithm I showed you earlier. So that's right 2, up, right 2, up inverted 7 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then R2. As you can see, this is lined up, this is lined up, this is lined up, and this is lined up. Also, while doing that, I flipped over this layer which I'd flipped earlier. The next step is to fix the corners in this layer. To do this, we turn the cube over so that this layer now becomes the down layer, and we use the same algorithm which would swap this one with this one. So if we do that just now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, R2. As you can see, this edge is now in the correct place. The next step is to swap this one with this one. Because during the last algorithm we also rotated this layer, I'm going to move it to here so that when I swap these two, this layer is rotated back. Using the algorithm I showed you earlier, as you can see, we've now lined up all of these and rotated this back over again. And the final step to solve this layer is to swap this piece with this piece. So again, using the same algorithm as before, and like so we've solved that entire layer. Now before we move on to this layer, we check the middle layer again and make sure nothing has been rotated in it. As you can see, this one here has been rotated, and that is fixed by doing R2, U2, R2, U2, R2. As you can see, we now have 2 layers solved. Now we move on to this layer. And we solve this layer exactly as we did for the other one. However, because we can't mess up this layer here, it becomes slightly more difficult. The first step is, as before, to align the centers. As you can see, we've aligned this one and this one. So to solve the centers, we could swap this one and this one. However, doing that would also swap this edge and this edge, thereby messing up this layer here. To avoid that, we need to do an even number of swaps on the top layer. By turning it like this, as you can see, there is now only one centre lined up, and we would solve it by swapping this one with this one. So we'd have this one aligned and a pink one here, and then by swapping this one with this one, we would line up these two, and we could swap back the edges we switched in the bottom layer. And that's what I'm going to do now. So to begin, I will swap this one with this one. As you can see, this piece is in the right place now, this piece is still in the correct place, and this one needs to be swapped with this one. And as I mentioned before, we've also swapped this piece with this piece. To solve the centres on this layer now, what I'm going to do is I'll bring them round so that when I hold these two pieces that need swapped on the right, I have the centre that needs to be swapped on the right and on the back. And again, I repeat the same algorithm as before. As you can see, I have fixed this layer, and I've also solved the centres in this layer. The next step is to once again rotate the cube over so that this layer becomes the down layer, and begin to solve the edges. To begin with, I'm going to swap this one with this one. As you can see, I've now aligned this one, however at the same time I've swapped this corner with this corner and this centre with this centre, and also rotated this. To fix this, I must do the next swap, which will be these two with them in this position. As you can see, I have now fixed this layer and this layer, and I've almost completed this layer. However, I need to swap just this piece with this piece. Using my method, it would appear that this cannot be done, because when you swap these two, you will inevitably mess up this layer. However, there is a way to do this, and I will show you how to do it at the end of this video, or you can click on the link just here. Now that we've solved these three layers, we begin to move outwards, and next we solve these two layers in the same manner I showed you before. To begin with, we look at the corners in one of the layers. We can see clearly here that this one's in the wrong layer, this one's in the correct layer, this one's in the correct layer, and this one here is in the wrong layer. We then look at this layer, and we can see that this piece is in the correct layer, this piece is in the wrong layer, this piece is in the correct layer, and therefore this piece must be in the wrong layer. So we need to swap this piece and this piece with these two pieces. To begin with, if we do this move, we now need to swap this piece with this piece. The best way to do this is to look and see where this piece, the piece we will be keeping, will be when we rotate this face down. As you can see, it's going to here. And we need to pair it up with this piece, so that they will be next to each other when we bring this piece down. We need to move this piece round to here. We then rotate this face down and we move this back, these two pieces are together, we can then rotate them into the top layer. As you can see, now this piece is correct, this piece is correct, this piece is correct, and this piece is correct. Now that we have the corners in the correct layer, we check the centres. As you can see, we have an orange, a green, a pink, and another green. We must therefore swap one of the greens with one of the blues from this layer here. As you can see, conveniently there's a blue right at the front there. So we move the blue onto this side, and then do M2. We now have the blue here and the green here, and if we do the algorithm, we will swap those two. Now we do M2, and as you can see in this layer, we now have a blue, a pink, a green, and an orange. The next step is to align the centres, which as you can see is already done. And now we have to fix these edges. This particular case isn't a very easy one to do, but the best way to do it would be to swap these two, and then swap these two, and then swap these two again. So, as always, we switch the two on the bottom right here, and now if we rotate this round, we can swap these two, and now we need to swap these two. As you can see, that bottom layer is now solved, and we're now going to work on this layer here. The first step is to check these, what are now 3 centre layers, and make sure that they're all rotated correctly. As you can see, mine already are. And we're now going to work on the centre pieces in this layer. This one's lined up, this one isn't, this one isn't, and this one is. So, one way to do this would be to swap these two. However, we have to do it in an even number of swaps so we don't mess up this bottom layer here. If we turn it like this, we can then swap this one with this one, and then this one with this one. That is 2 moves, so we won't destroy the bottom layer. And that's what I'm going to do now. As you can see, pink, green, orange, and blue all aligned correctly, and we have not disturbed the bottom layer. The next step is to look at the corners in this layer, and as you can see, once again we need to swap this one with this one, which is another case of parity, which I will show you at the end of the video, or you can click this link here. Now that you've solved these 5 layers, it's time to move out again and look at the next 2 layers. Once again, we're going to start by looking at the edge pieces. As you can see in this layer, this one is correct, this one is incorrect, this one is correct, and this one here is incorrect. So we need to swap this one here and this one here with 2 from this layer down here. From this layer we can see this one here is incorrect, this one here is correct, this one here is incorrect, and this one here is correct. We must therefore swap this piece and this piece with this piece and this piece. To do this, if we put this piece here swap these two. We now have the two pieces that we need to swap here and here, and we need to swap them with these two pieces here and here. As you can see, this piece is in the correct layer, this piece is in the correct layer, this piece is in the correct layer, and this piece here is also in the correct layer. We now look at the centre pieces and see we have a pink one, a blue one, a green one, and an orange one. So we have all the correct colours here. And we begin by aligning the centres. In this case, we can fix them by switching this one with this one. Now that we have the centres aligned, it's time to fix the corners. Here, I'm going to swap this one with this one, and then this one with this one, like this. As you can see, we've now solved this layer. And the next step is to look at the middle, what is now 5 layers. As you can see, these ones here have been flipped, so we need to flip them back now. So that's R2, U2, R2, U2, R2. We now move on to this layer here, and we look at the centres. To align them, we're going to swap this one with this one, and this one with this one. Remember, as always, when we're doing the second layer, we need to use an even number of moves so that we don't disturb the bottom layer. As you can see, we've now aligned all the centres and the bottom layer has not been disturbed. We're now going to work on the corners or the edges in this layer. And the easiest way to solve these is by swapping this one with this one, and this one with this one, like this. And there we go, we've now solved 7 layers. If you encountered the case where you would need to swap, say, this one with this one and nothing else, again you have a case of parity, and I'll show you how to fix that by clicking on the link here. We're now finally on to the last layer, and we begin by orienting all the pieces, and you do this in the same way you would if you were orienting the centres on, say, a 4x4 or a 5x5. After you've oriented all the pieces, make sure that the 7 layers in the centre are still solved. And we're now going to begin to work on the centres in this layer. As you can see here, we need to swap this one with this one. Now that we have the centre solved, we can solve the edges. This is done by swapping this one, and then by swapping this one and this one. That's now that layer solved. And once again, we check the middle 7 layers to make sure we don't have, nothing is rotated. Here it's not. We now move on to the final layer, and as always we start by checking the centres. Here we could solve it by swapping this one and this one. However, as always we need to solve them using an even number of moves. So by doing this, we could then solve it by swapping this one with this one and this one with this one. As you can see, these centres are now aligned, and the last thing to do is to solve these corners. Here, this would be done by swapping this one with this one, and this one with this one. As you can see, the cube is now solved. If you encounter a case like this, where your two layers are otherwise solved, apart from a piece here and a piece here that needs to be swapped, what you've done is you've put one of these centerpieces in the wrong layer. To fix it, I do U prime and then M2, and then I execute that algorithm again. And then do M2 and U. As you can see, I have now solved this layer here. However, at the same time, I have messed up this layer. We will now work on this one to fix it. The first thing to do is to check the middle layer, and as you can see, I rotated this piece while doing the algorithm. So to fix that, do R2, U2, R2, U2, R2. And now is a simple case of solving this layer. To begin with, I'm going to swap this centre with this centre. As you can see, those two are now solved. However, this piece has been swapped with this piece, and this layer has been rotated. To fix that, bring this layer round over this side, and again, do the algorithm. As you can see, once again the centres have been solved, and now it's a simple case of fixing the edges. So again, turn it upside down. I'm going to begin by swapping this one with this one. As you can see, I fixed this side. However, I once again messed up the top layer. So if I bring the next part that needs to be swapped around and repeat the algorithm, as you can see, it's now complete. Alright guys, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button now.